Cheers, everybody. Hello, welcome to Hopefully Here Reading. I am Hope, and as always, I am so stoked to have you. It is the first reading vlog of Booker season, and it has started off with a bang. I meant to vlog more of the process of actually reading this book, but I just started reading, and it's so incredible, and that is My Friends by Hisham Matar. This is the book I was most looking forward to reading. It was on my TBR even without the Booker Prize, and it is absolutely brilliant. I will be purchasing a copy of this book. It's one that I need to have. I want to reread it. I want to highlight. I am not a highlighter in my books, but there are some incredible passages of writing in this book that just pull at the heartstrings. They make you think, they make you feel, they evoke every kind of emotion you would want, and it is a masterfully written book. In this book, you are following Khalid, who is taking a walk through London. He has just dropped a really dear old friend off at the train station, and he's walking through and reminiscing on the relationship that he has with this man and another man, and how they're connected through really a lot of political turmoil, but how their relationships are built on these incredible things. Like, they're just built on this understanding of each other and of loving each other and knowing each other and empathizing with each other because they know what they've been through. They've been through some really traumatic things. And he's taking a walk through London, and these different places are just really causing him to reminisce on certain parts of the relationship. And in theory, that doesn't sound like a book that I would love, because I find a lot of those books are written very stream of conscious sort of, but that's not how this is written. Has a very standard narrative, and I loved that. Another thing, it's such a thick book. The chapters are so short, maybe 5-6 pages, so you just feel like you're flying through this book getting to know these three men, and you're only ever in Khalid's point of view, so you don't have the other two men's point of view, but you really get a pretty good understanding of some of the things that they're feeling. You get letters from them and phone calls from them, so you do really get a sense of what the other men are going through. The build-up to this story is Khalid is from Libya, and he is allowed to go over to London to study, and he and this man that he meets, I want to make sure I get their names right. Are they in here? Mustafa? Yes, so he and Mustafa meet at university, and they get stuck. They didn't get stuck. They go to this political rally in front of their embassy, and things really fall apart. And it's a really interesting look at the reaches other country governments have still in foreign countries. And due to circumstances, their lives really take a turn that never quite repairs itself until even decades later. I wouldn't even say they're really prepared. And so you're following that relationship. And then in another relationship, you're following Khalid and the man Hisham, who is a writer. And when he's younger, Khalid hears this story written by Hisham, and it really changes his life. It directs him down this path with literature that is also written about beautifully in this book. And eventually they cross paths, and they form this really incredible, intense relationship, friendship. And it's about these men and their tribulations and the traumas and the love, and it's politics and exile and family, and everything you could want in a book is in this book. And on top of it, it is one of the best written books I've ever read in my life. So freaking good. I definitely have heard people think Carl Anderson, I believe is his name, predicted months ago that he thought this would win the Booker Prize, and I'm not gonna lie, something really, really incredibly special is going to happen for it to replace that thought in my mind as well. It's the first book I've read off of this list, and I think it is spectacular. So I would say absolutely worth picking up, and it's going to read a lot more quickly than you think it's going to read. Brilliant, brilliant book. Which means I'm moving on to the next book, and I am a little hesitant about this one, and that is Anne Michael's Held. I have tried reading this before, and it didn't go very well, but I'm giving it another chance. So fingers crossed. And I also have the book There by Tommy Orange, which isn't up for the Booker Prize, but the sequel to this is, which is kind of annoying, but it was a book that I'd kind of had on my radar to maybe pick up one day anyways. It's just getting pushed further up the list. So I'm going to do this and hope that it goes better the second time than it did the first. But yes, I would say Booker Prize is starting off with quite the bang, because this book is 5-star brilliance. 5 stars. Without hesitation or a question in my mind. Read it. Book 2 of the Booker Prize Longlist complete. And while it went better than the first time I read it, I still would not call it a roaring success. I got very bored. I skimmed the last 20 pages, and I find the writing of this book to be the challenging part. It's not written super flowery, but I think it's in the formatting. It's very quick. I don't even know if I would call them vignettes. It like just jumps around too much, and I spent the whole book trying to grasp what was being said and what the story was being told. I just found it to be a little too flighty. I'm not even sure I can describe it properly, but it just felt like you were, every time a new kind of paragraph started, it felt like you were jumping in halfway through the conversation. And while you understood the words being said, you didn't understand the context being said. That's how I felt about this book. And there was one part of this book that actually it was really interesting, and it is in the synopsis about how a photographer, ghosts, start presenting themselves to this photographer. And I thought that was kind of cool, but the story just fizzled, and I'm not sure if it winds up, like if it fixed itself or it concludes itself in the final pages, because like I said, by the end I was just skimming because I was so over this book. But to me, if a story is intriguing in the first 50 pages, but you have to wait until page 270 for it to, or 207 for it to conclude itself, and in between you're not talking about it at all, then the payoff isn't there for me. So even if it was rectified, I don't care anymore. And so that was a bit of a bummer, because I got to the point that I had originally DNF'd this book at, and got a few pages after, and I thought, oh, okay, so maybe it was me. I just didn't give this book the chance that it deserved in order to grab my attention. And by the end, I thought I would have been fine just DNFing it at the original point. So that's unfortunate, because it is a Canadian author, and I would love to support my Canadian authors, but this just wasn't the book for me. The characters, you're following this family who is impacted World War I. You start with a man fighting in World War I, and then you're following his family generations after that. And I just like didn't get it. It says something, what is it that's in the, a story of love and loyalty across generations, at once sweeping and intimate. And it's just like, I just didn't get it. So that's a me thing probably. I'm sure that there will be people out there who like it, because it is a book that is easy to read. It just isn't a book that was easy for me to read, because I wasn't enjoying myself. That is the wrap up on Held by Ann Michaels. It is not a winner for me. I have a book to pick up from the library today that is going to be the third book we read for this vlog, and probably the final. I'll probably be just splitting this vlog series up in terms of what books I get my hands on in what order. And I am looking forward to this one. I think it's Wild Houses by Colin Barrett, but we'll talk about that as we read it. And the goal is to read that book today. So let's actually maybe start to try to vlog a little bit. So why don't you spend the day with me? We'll read this book and we will see how it plays out. My assumption is that it will be better than this, but not as good as My Friends. Let's see how my predictions play out. coffee shop and doing a little bit of running around. And I am 132 pages into this book, and I am absolutely loving it, flying through it. I think the two characters that you're really focusing on right now, Dev and Doll, are interesting, and your heart kind of breaks for them a little bit because they've been thrust into this situation where they should really be peripheral characters, but because of the people around them, they're being put into these really terrible situations, and you just feel for them because they're stuck, and you know that they aren't exactly where they want to be, but that's just where their circumstances have landed them. The writing is very compulsive, total page turner. I'm having a great time. So Dev and Doll are two men that have been kind of caught up in like a drug war, sort of. Doll's brother owes somebody money, and so it's just very messy. So far, nothing too graphic has happened, but I think it's possible it's coming. We will see. But the characters are just really, really great, and I'm having a lovely time. You can tell it's an Irish writer. I don't know what it is about Irish storytelling that sometimes you can just feel that it is, and I didn't know that he was Irish. I don't know who Colin Barrett is. I don't think I've read from him before. And about 5 or 6 pages in, I thought, this guy's Irish, and he is. If you liked Young Mungo or even Ordinary Human Feelings, there's something about that writing that is very reminiscent of this, and if you enjoyed those, I think you would enjoy this book as well. So like I said, I'm having a great time, and I'm very curious to see where the story goes. So I'm gonna get back to reading because I'm definitely gonna be able to finish this up in the next little bit. But yeah, definitely a huge step up from where we last ended with Held by Ann Michaels, and that makes me very happy. And just like that, we are done book number 3 on this Booker long list. I really enjoyed this book. I think the story was just so compelling. It's not like it's the craziest story in the world, but the writing just kept me really engaged the entire time. The characters were fascinating, and I am very curious to know where the characters end up in the future, the ones that can still have a future, that sort of thing. I don't want to give anything away, but really entertaining story. Another comparison I have a little bit is sort of S.A. Cosby light. Really light, not nearly as graphic and gory, but the same sort of propulsive reading experience that you get from S.A. Cosby, I feel like you get, or I got in this anyways. Really, really thoroughly enjoyed. I don't think it's a winner of the Booker Prize, but it is certainly a very entertaining read, and I'm really excited that I got to read this one. But that is the end of vlog 1 of this Booker long list, and hopefully there will be another one in the future. Like I said, it'll just depend on when Booker books get to me because they're all coming in from the library, and we will go from there. I would love to know so far what your reading experience has been like for this long list. If you have read any, if you're not reading, what's going on. Let's have a chat about it in the comments, and I will see you in the next video.